Well, good afternoon, friends. Here we are in the garden, mid-July, on a very pleasant afternoon. Not too hot, not too windy, and no threat of rain. It's ideal. It's been months since I've done a poetry show. Here's number 91. Boy, we're heading toward 100 fairly soon. And it's been on my mind to do some nature, in praise of nature poetry. And coming across this volume of selected poems by Edna St. Vincent Millay, an American poet who wrote in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Seemed like a good place to start. I opened at random. An untitled sonnet by the looks of things. I, being born a woman and distressed by all the needs and notions of my kind, am urged by your propinquity to find your person fair and feel a certain zest to bear your body's weight upon my breast. So subtly is the fume of life designed to clarify the pulse and cloud the mind, and leave me once again undone, possessed. Think not for this, however, the poor treason of my stout blood against my staggering brain. I shall remember you with love, or season my scorn with pity. Let me make it plain. I find this frenzy insufficient reason for conversation when we meet again. The previous page. Oh, you will be sorry for that word. Give me back my book and take my kiss instead. Was it my enemy or my friend I heard? What a big book for such a little head. Come, I will show you now my newest hat, and you may watch me purse my mouth and prink. Oh, I shall love you still and all of that. I'll never again shall tell you what I think. I shall be sweet and crafty, soft and sly. You will not catch me reading any more. I shall be called a wife to pattern by, and some day when you knock and push the door, some sane day, not too bright and not too stormy, I shall be gone, and you may whistle for me. Pity me not, because the light of day at close of day no longer walks the sky. Pity me not for beauties passed away from field and thicket as the year goes by. Pity me not the waning of the moon, nor that ebbing tide goes out to sea, nor that a man's desires hushed so soon, and you no longer look with love on me. This have I known always. Love is no more than the wide blossom which the wind assails, than the great tide that treads the shifting shore, strewing fresh wreckage gathered in the gales. Pity me that the heart is slow to learn what the swift mind beholds at every turn. Afternoon on a hill. I will be the gladdest thing under the sun. I will touch 100 flowers and not pick one. I will look at cliffs and clouds with quiet eyes. Watch the wind bow down the grass and the grass rise. And when the lights begin to show up from the town, I will mark which must be mine and then start down. Time does not bring relief. You all have lied who told me time would ease me of my pain. I miss him in the weeping of the rain. I want him at the shrinking of the tide. The old snows melt from every mountainside, and last year's leaves are smoke in every lane. But last year's bitter loving must remain heaped on my heart, and my old thoughts abide. There are 100 places where I fear to go, so with his memory they brim, and entering with relief some quiet place where never fell his foot nor shone his face, I say, there is no memory of him here, and stand so stricken, so remembering him. The Philosopher. And what are you that wanting you should I be kept awake as many nights as there are days with weeping for your sake? And what are you that missing you as many days as crawl I should be listening to the wind and looking at the wall? I know a man that's a braver man, and 20 men as kind, and what are you that you should be the one man in my mind? Yet women's ways are witless ways, as any sage will tell, and what am I that I should love so wisely and so well? A lot of missing lovers there, and I seem to have missed out on all oh, here's some more. From the book 2nd April 1921. Spring. To what purpose, April, do you return again? Beauty is not enough. You can no longer quiet me with the redness of little leaves opening stickily. I know what I know. The sun is hot on my neck as I observe the spikes of the crocus. The smell of the earth is good. It is apparent that there is no death. But what does that signify? Not only underground are the brains of men eaten by maggots. Life in itself is nothing, an empty cup, a flight of uncarpeted stairs. It is not enough that yearly down this hill April comes like an idiot, babbling and strewing flowers. Weeds. White with daisies and red with sorrel, and empty, empty under the sky. Life is a quest and love a quarrel. Here is a place for me to lie. Daisies spring from damned seeds, and this red fire that here I see is a worthless cup of crimson weeds, cursed by farmers thriftily. But here, unhated for an hour, the sorrel runs in ragged flame. The daisy stands, a bastard flower, like flowers that bear an honest name. And here a while, where no wind brings the baying of a pack athirst, may sleep the sleep of blessed things, the blood too bright, the brow accursed. Assault. I had forgotten how the frogs must sound after a year of silence. Else I think I should not so have ventured forth alone at dusk upon this unfrequented road. I am waylaid by beauty. Who will walk between me and the crying of the frogs? O savage beauty, suffer me to pass, that I'm a timid woman, on her way from one house to another. Inland. People that build their houses inland, people that buy a plot of ground shaped like a house, and build a house there, far from the seaboard, far from the sound of water sucking the hollow ledges. Tons of water striking the shore. What do they long for, as I long for one salt smell of the sea once more? People the waves have not awakened, spanking the boats at harbour's head. What do they long for, as I long for, starting up in my inland bed, beating the narrow walls and finding neither a window nor a door, screaming to God for death by drowning, one salt taste of the sea once more. Wild swans. I looked in my heart while the wild swans went over, and what did I see I had not seen before? Only a question less or a question more. Nothing to match the flight of wild birds flying. Tiresome heart, forever living and dying. House without air, I leave you and lock your door. Wild swans, come over the town again, trailing your legs and crying. Three songs from The Lamp and the Bell. A selection, a short selection. Rain comes down and hushes the town, and where is the voice that I heard crying? Snow settles over the nettles, where is the voice that I heard crying? Sand at last on the drifting mast, and where is the voice that I heard crying? Earth now on the busy brow, and where is the voice that I heard crying? Never may the fruit be plucked. Never, never may the fruit be plucked from the bough and gathered into barrels. He that would eat of love must eat it where it hangs. Though the branches bend like reeds, though the ripe fruit splash in the grass or wrinkle on the tree, he that would eat of love may bear away with him only what his belly can hold. Nothing in the apron, nothing in the pockets. Never, never may the fruit be gathered from the bough and harvested in barrels. The winter of love is a cellar of empty bins in an orchard soft with rot. Captain Antibes, from a much later book. The storm is over, and the land has forgotten the storm. The trees are still under the sun. The rain dries quickly. Cones from the sea pines cover the ground again. Where yesterday for my fire I gathered all in sight. But the leaves are meek. The smell of the small alyssum that grows wild here is in the air. It is a childish morning. More sea than land am I. My sulky mind, whipped high by tempest in the night, is not so soon appeased. Into my occupations with dull roar it washes. It recedes. Even as at my side in the calm day, the disturbed Mediterranean lurches with heavy swell against the bird twittering shore. Another one from us, sections from the Epitaph for the Race of Man. Now forth to meadow as the farmer goes, with shining buckets to the milking ground, he meets the black ant hurrying from his mound to milk the aphis pastured on the rose. But no good morrow, as you might suppose, no nod of greeting, no perfunctory sound passes between them, no occasions found for gossip as to how the fodder grows in chilly autumn. On the hardening road they meet again, driving their flocks to stall, two herdsmen, each with winter for a goad. They meet and pass, and never a word at all gives one to other. In the quaint abode of each, the evening and the first snow fall. The snowstorm. No hawk hangs over in this air. The urgent snow is everywhere. The wing adroiter than a sail must lean away from such a gale, abandoning its straight intent, or else expose tough ligament and tender flesh to what before meant dampened feathers, nothing more. Forceless upon our backs there fall in frequent flakes hexagonal, devised in many a curious style to charm our safety for a while, where close to earth like mice we go, under the horizontal snow. Modern declaration. I, having loved ever since I was a child a few things, never having wavered in these affections, never through shyness in the houses of the rich or in the presence of clergymen having denied these loves, never when worked upon by cynics like chiropractors having grunted or clicked a vertebra to discredit of those loves, never when anxious to land a job having diminished them by a conniving smile, or when befuddled by drink, jeered at them through a heartache, or lazily fondled the fingers of their alert enemies. Declare that I shall love you always, no matter what party is in power, no matter what temporarily expedient combination of allied interests wins the war. Shall love you always. Thank you, Edna. I wonder what you're up to these days. You've been gone for a while. Gone into the light. Someone else who's not that long gone into the light, Mary Oliver. From her New and Selected Poems, Volume 2. First Happenings. A morning glory morning, with its usual glory. Dawn particularly startling, with citrons and mauves, petunias in the garden, flashing their tender signals of gratitude. The sunflowers creak in their grass-colored dresses. Cosmos, the 4 o'clocks, the sweet alyssum nod the roses, who are so very politely to nod back. And now it is time to go to work. At my desk I look out over the fluttering petals, little fires, each one fresh and almost but not quite replicable. Consider wearing such a satisfying body. Consider being with your entire self, such a quiet prayer. Work, sometimes. I was sad all day, and why not? There I was, books piled on both sides of the table, paper stacked up, words falling off my tongue. The robins had been a long time singing, and now it was beginning to rain. What are we sure of? Happiness isn't a town on a map, or an early arrival, or a job well done, but good work ongoing, which is not likely to be the trifling ground around a poem. Then it began raining hard, and the flowers in the yard were full of lively fragrance. You have had days like this, no doubt, and wasn't it wonderful, finally, to leave the room? Ah, what a moment! As for myself, I swung the door open, and there was the wordless singing world, and I ran for my life. Everything. I want to make poems that say right out plainly what I mean, that don't go looking for the laces of elaboration, puffed sleeves. I want to keep close and use often words like heavy, heart, joy, soon, and to cherish the question mark and her bold sister, the dash. I want to write with quiet hands. I want to write while crossing the fields that are fresh with daisies and everlasting and ordinary grass. I want to make poems while thinking of the bread of heaven and the cup of astonishment. Let them be songs in which nothing is neglected, not a hope, not a promise. I want to make poems that look into the earth and the heavens and see the unseeable. I want them to honor both the heart of faith and the light of the world, and the gladness that says, without any words, everything. North Country. In the North Country now it is spring, and there is a certain celebration. The thrush has come home. He is shy and likes the evening best. Also the hour just before morning. In that blue and gritty light he climbs to his branch, or smoothly sails there. It is okay to know only one song, if it is this one. Hear it rise and fall. The very elements of your soul shiver nicely. What would be spring without it? Mostly frogs. But don't worry, he arrives year after year, humble and obedient and gorgeous. You listen and you know you could live a better life than you do. Be softer, kinder. And maybe this year you will be able to do it. Hear how his voice rises and falls. There is no way to be sufficiently grateful for the gifts we are given, no way to speak the Lord's name often enough, though we do try. And especially now, as that dappled breast breathes in the pines and heaven's windows in the North Country, now spring has come and are opened wide. Of what surrounds me. Whatever it is I am saying, I am always need a leaf or a flower, if not an entire field. As for sky, I am so wildly in love with each day's inventions, cool blue or cat grey or full of the ships of clouds. I simply can't say whatever it is I am saying without at least one skyfall. That leaves water, a creek or a well, river or ocean. It has to be there, for the heart to be there, for the pen to be poised, for the idea to come. My. One of my favorite contemporary poets, A.F. Moritz, known to his friends as Al. Many books of poetry, many awards, recently a poet laureate. Much to praise. The book is As Far As You Know. The Spot. From my homelessness I see my land as a man in a place sees it, small and vast from his one spot. It may be where he stopped to pant in the infinite dryness of the sun on the hard road, or the spot on the road where he happens to be now as he walks passing through. From it he sees the people all around him who live in the place. And he sees the people who once lived here, in the birds animals, flowers, crops, and mountains, and he carries them. The stories of the place in its moment now, streams flowing into a lake, roads coming into a town. The place is his home. What he thinks about it is his poem, his world of grief tinged with happiness, or happiness full of mourning, that he makes as he moves forward and looks out at it, far around him, from his homelessness, his spot. The universe. I know well that in some corner of the universe, as I hold entirely within me the whole universe, content and peace, its story, its every gesture, every fragrance, every fact, its explosion, its winding down, there is a tiny part, a torn off rag, me, that is only suffering, only pain, and doesn't know, can't hold that it is all of me, and holds the whole universe within it in peace. And this peace holds and hates the universe, or simply is its central point unknowing, its total contraction, animal sorrow. Many of these poems were written in 2016, I notice. But let's face it, all great lyrical poetry exists in eternity and are joined together by the rhythms and harmonies of song. Never to be exhausted. Never to be exhausted fascination of sunset. Clouds that never move and then have passed far eastward, from rose to grey, low to high. Slow melding and decline of colours. You hold a calm here whose blood is perpetually still. You slipping away of things invisibly into another, never to be exhausted. You die to rescue me from the unending. In your mercy you turn into black, and wondering what world of colours more than colour within deep veins like planetary streams among long buried mountain ranges in a world without light Merlin saw for 1,000 years inside the oak. I have to leave. The black is merely black to me except in dreams, and only motion keeps me warm in the dreariness. And you, a friend, to meet again tomorrow. Gift, distance. I watched myself go foraging. I saw me cross the field, hesitating, glancing, listening here and there. And then I vanished in the covert and re-emerged with the bird of azure in my teeth. Later I purred in the sun, and that light slept with my sisters in our cave between the roots, watchfully, curled into the others in the dark that's not obscure to me. Then I drew back from myself again, image, reflection, and body, giving each other the space we need, and in the blackness across this gift, distance, two of us discussed the day's happening, enjoyed the fire and stars, until we too fell asleep. The pond in the woods. The man who was content with a still pond and the reflection of the woods along its shore became the rock beside its water, a rock like a statue of a man reclining, with something like a head here, something like a face, the kind of face a flower is, or the front of a woman's body. If you come here, you'll continuously be provoked and soothed. The world will be this crystal ball of space and a dream. Maybe you'll spill your seed. The whole silken place and silence entrancing you like an entrance to a womb, and then, excitement faded, you'll become as little moved by such linkings of living things as the man of stone with the gaze of water. Then there will be no response to you here anymore, except for this unmoving, and later the itch for converse that drives you out. The wanderer, dweller in the house, yearning after me as I go by, yearning to be on the road like me, free and alone. I know well that you are more than an exile, a wanderer than I am. And on my 2 feet, weariness and not knowing, I am the one more at home. The commandment of love. In the law and logic of desire, I want is converted into what should be everlasting into everlasting. The furious springs of motion everywhere lie still within the measure of their fury, as what should be appears as what has been. I want is seen for the other name of law, and heard as final speaking of the law, which is completed in its name. The earth, the inner and the outer fires, the core, the stars, mute lives and spaces that have no law, being what they do and suffer. This takes form as law in me and you. What murder buds identical with innocence in us? So you and I lie far apart forever, knowing that only man and woman can teach the gods more than the chaos of the law, and so the long groping crafting of our love. To the soul. I made the mistake of wanting the woman that I love to be as you are always, naked, amorous, young, and though shy to others, to me always opening, always desiring, demanding me. Sometimes the woman's tired or satisfied, as I am. She wants me to lead her naked on a golden chain through the busiest streets sometimes, but only sometimes. The woman lets me rest, you never. To save myself I try withdrawing, but I have to see you, abandoned Ariadne, self-stripped always and crying on the beach. How beautiful your breasts and eyes to the man who would see you from the sea. Your naked back and open hips to the man who approaches by the grassy dunes. How weak, how sporadic my powers to your endless hunger, your pain. The first words at the closing of the door of paradise, when delight survived but the omnipotence of the body had been taken away. I know. Thank God for the woman. Before definition. First in the mind there should be no words. Let poetry have a place before definition. Hammered signs, inanities, greetings, those loves, those sweetnesses congealed, a place without coprophilia of a slang lost to honour and humour, a space without the knowledge that kills all the dandelions. They're weeds, they're clones in that flat buzzing coral that makes the sun remorseless. Mind, place of no words, while the words are growing invisible in the death and dream of sleep. Mind, space for the turning of a corner into the unexpected world, the expanse before it has said its prayer to you, its commandment, its begging. Decide. To the reader, this prayer I write is a poem because I know very well I do not pray. A broken willow reflects in the pool. The river partly turns aside to and enters here just for a moment. One of its great stems is fallen in the water, a sign of centuries' damage, which finally killed, a leaving this May of a February storm. Or maybe just of a quiet culmination, a crack, a slump with no one to see or hear after decades of seasons, the arrival sum of the events of a long flourishing and failing. It broke, and now it lies in my gaze with the rest of the beauty there, in the quiet commotion of memory and thought. Who can this anxiousness be addressed to but you? A prayer should signify a God, but even so little as you may not be there. You'll have to read this poem to exist. And what it signifies, the agglomeration of a moment belonging to someone else, can it be anything for you? I beg you, a person like me, baffled like me, content in the intervals between the peaks of terror, to go on my way,